Commander Lyra Moonwhisper stood on the bridge of her ship and watched the stars dance through the purple clouds of the Andorian nebula. Her long silver hair moved gently in the artificial breeze that flowed through the crystal corridors of her vessel. The ship itself seemed alive as it hummed with the power of 1,000 singing crystals that gave it life and motion through space. She had been doing this same dance for over 200 years now. Every season the call would come, and she would gather her fleet and sail through the nebula to meet their ancient enemies, the Zephyrians. They would face each other across the void of space and perform the ritual battle that had been going on for 3,000 years. Lyra touched the smooth crystal panel before her and felt the ship respond to her thoughts. The Velthari had learned, long ago, to work with their technology rather than simply use it. Their ships were grown rather than built, and each one was unique like a living creature. Her vessel, the Silver Dawn, was old and wise, and had carried her family for 6 generations. Behind her, navigator, Elena Brightstar worked quietly at her station. Elena was young for a Velthari at barely 100 years old, but she had the gift of reading star patterns like others read simple books. Her green eyes glowed softly as she traced the safe paths through the dangerous nebula clouds. "Commander, the Zephyrian fleet approaches from the eastern quadrant," Elena said in her musical voice. "They follow the same route as always." Lyra nodded and felt a familiar mix of anticipation and sadness. The Zephyrians were their enemies, but after so many centuries of this dance, she almost thought of them as old friends. They knew each other so well that the battles had become as formal as a court ceremony. Across the nebula, Captain Zara Vex stood in the war room of her biomechanical ship, the Crimson Talon. Unlike the flowing crystal halls of the Velthari vessels, the Zephyrian ships were dark and filled with the sound of beating hearts and flowing blood. The walls themselves were alive and responded to the emotions of the crew. Zara was tall and strong, with skin marked by the ritual scars that showed her rank and battle experience. Her red hair was braided with metal threads, and her eyes were the color of amber. She had been fighting the Velthari for almost as long as Lyra had been alive, and she knew this dance as well as anyone. Battle Sister Maya Thornfield approached with the battle reports. Maya was younger than Zara, but already she bore the marks of a true warrior. Her arms showed the scars of a dozen fights, and her eyes held the calm confidence of someone who had faced death many times and survived. "Captain, our scouts report the elf fleet is moving into position as expected," Maya said. "They have 12 crystal ships, including 2 heavy battle cruisers, the same formation they always use." Zara smiled grimly. The Velthari never changed their tactics because they believed their way was perfect. The Zephyrians respected this even as they prepared to fight against it. Both sides had learned over the centuries that this conflict was not about winning or losing, but about maintaining the balance that kept the galaxy stable. The ancient treaties signed 3,000 years ago had established the rules of engagement. Neither side could use their most powerful weapons. Neither side could attack civilian populations. Neither side could seek total victory. The war had become a way to channel the natural aggression of both species into something that served a greater purpose. Lyra watched her tactical display as the Zephyrian fleet took their positions. Each ship glowed red on her screen, and she knew exactly where they would move next. Captain Vex was predictable, but that was not weakness. It was wisdom. They both knew that changing the dance too much could lead to real war and real death on a scale that would devastate both civilizations. The ritual began as it always did. Both fleets approached each other slowly with weapons powered but not aimed. They came close enough to exchange formal challenges over the communication channels. Lyra stood straight and spoke the ancient words that her grandmother had taught her. "By the light of the crystal stars, we come to test our strength against worthy opponents," she said. "May this battle bring honor to both our peoples." Zara responded with the traditional Zephyrian reply. "By the blood of our ancestors, we accept your challenge. May the strong survive and the weak learn wisdom." The dance continued as both fleets spread out into their battle formations. The Velthari ships moved like graceful birds dancing on wind currents. Their weapons charged slowly, and their shields shimmered like soap bubbles in sunlight. The Zephyrian Vessels responded by growing armor plating and extending weapon pods like predators showing their claws. For 3 hours, they maneuvered and fired at each other with weapons set to minimum power. A few ships on each side took minor damage, but nothing that could not be easily repaired. Some of the younger warriors on both sides wished they could fight with full power, but the older commanders knew better. Lyra felt the familiar rhythm of battle settle into her bones. This was what her people had done for countless generations. This was their duty and their honor. The universe was vast and dangerous, and full of things that wanted to destroy all life. The constant conflict between her people and the Zephyrians served as a buffer that kept worse threats away from the peaceful worlds of the inner galaxy. As the mock battle reached its climax, both fleets began to pull back to safe distances. The ritual was nearly complete, and soon they would return to their home worlds to repair and prepare for the next encounter. Everything was going exactly as it had gone 1,000 times before. Then Elena looked up from her navigation station, with confusion written across her face. Her instruments were showing something impossible, something that had never happened before in all the long years of the ancient dance. "Commander," she said in a voice tight with worry, "there is another ship coming." Captain Lisa Martinez stared at the swirling purple clouds ahead of her ship and felt the familiar excitement of discovering something new. The New Horizons had been traveling for 6 months since leaving Earth space, and every day brought fresh wonders. Today, their sensors were picking up energy readings unlike anything in their databases. "Kate, what are you seeing down there?" Lisa called to her chief engineer. Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan looked up from her control panel with bright eyes full of curiosity. Kate was the kind of person who could fix anything with spare parts and determination. She had volunteered for this mission because she wanted to see how alien technology worked and maybe learn something that could help humanity build better ships. "Captain, these energy readings are incredible," Kate said. "I am detecting 2 completely different power signatures. One looks like some kind of crystal resonance technology, and the other appears to be biological in nature. I have never seen anything like either one." Lisa nodded and turned to her science officer. Dr. Amy Brooks was hunched over her instruments, taking readings of everything they encountered. Amy had joined the mission to study alien life, and so far the journey had exceeded all her expectations. "Amy, are you picking up any life signs?" Lisa asked. "Definitely, Captain," Amy replied without looking up. "I am reading multiple ships ahead of us, and they all show signs of living crews. The interesting thing is that I am detecting 2 distinct biological patterns. We might be looking at first contact with not one, but 2 different alien species." Lisa felt her heart rate increase. First contact was every explorer's dream, but it was also extremely dangerous. Humanity had been wondering for decades if they were alone in the universe. Now it looked like they were about to get their answer in a very big way. "All stop," Lisa ordered. "Let me think about this for a minute." The New Horizons slowed to a halt just outside the nebula. Through the view screen, they could see flashes of light that looked like weapons fire. Lisa frowned as she realized what they might be witnessing. "It looks like we have stumbled into some kind of battle," she said. "Amy, can you tell if this is a war or just a skirmish?" Amy adjusted her sensors and studied the readings carefully. "The weapons fire appears to be relatively low power, Captain. Either these aliens have very weak technology, or they are holding back for some reason. The battle appears to be following some kind of pattern, like they are dancing rather than really trying to hurt each other." Before Lisa could respond, both alien fleets stopped firing and turned toward the human ship. The silence was suddenly broken by incoming communication signals on multiple frequencies. Lisa looked at her communications officer, Lieutenant Rebecca Stone. "Rebecca, can you make sense of these signals?" Lisa asked. Rebecca was young, but she had a gift for languages and had been learning alien communication protocols during the journey. She worked quickly to analyze the incoming messages. "Captain, I am getting what appears to be demands that we leave the area immediately," Rebecca said. "Both alien fleets are telling us that we are not welcome here and that we must withdraw at once." Lisa considered her options. They had come so far and learned so little. The chance to make contact with not one but 2 alien civilizations was too important to just walk away from. Besides, the aliens were not attacking yet, which suggested they might be willing to talk. "Rebecca, send a response on all frequencies," Lisa said. Tell them we are peaceful explorers from Earth and we wish to establish friendly relations. Make it clear that we mean no harm and are only here to learn." Rebecca sent the message, and they waited for a response. What came back was not encouraging. Both alien fleets began moving closer to the human ship, and their weapons started powering up to higher levels. On board, the Silver Dawn commander, Lyra, stared at the strange vessel that had appeared between her fleet and the Zephyrians. The ship was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was made of metal and polymer instead of living crystal or biomatter. Its design was crude, but somehow sturdy-looking, like it had been built by people who had to work with limited resources. "Elena, can you identify that vessel?" Lyra asked. Elena studied her instruments, but shook her head. "Commander, it does not match any known design in our databases. The materials are primitive, but the energy output suggests they have some kind of fusion power system. They are definitely not from any civilization we have encountered before." Lyra felt a cold fear growing in her chest. Unknown ships did not just appear in the middle of sacred battle zones. The ancient treaties that governed the conflict between her people and the Zephyrians specifically stated that no other species was allowed to interfere. This unknown vessel was breaking 3,000 years of carefully maintained balance. The Crimson Talon Captain Zara was having similar thoughts. She studied the alien ship and tried to understand what it represented. The design was clearly the work of a young species that had only recently developed space travel. But young species were often the most dangerous, because they had not yet learned the rules that kept the galaxy stable. "Battle Sister Maya, prepare the boarding teams," Zara ordered. "If these aliens will not leave peacefully, we may need to remove them by force." Maya nodded and began issuing orders to the warrior crews. The Zephyrian military doctrine was simple and direct. Unknown threats were eliminated quickly before they could grow into larger problems. But before either alien fleet could act, the human ship did something unexpected. Instead of fleeing or surrendering, it began broadcasting on multiple frequencies, in dozens of different languages. The messages were all variations of the same theme. The humans wanted to talk. Lisa watched the alien fleets approaching and made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Instead of running away, she ordered her ship to move forward into the space between the two alien forces. "Captain, what are you doing?" Kate asked nervously. "I am betting that these aliens are civilized beings who will listen to reason," Lisa replied. "If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already. They are giving us a chance to leave, which means they prefer peaceful solutions when possible." The human ship settled into a position directly between the two alien fleets. Lisa had effectively made herself a barrier that neither side could attack without risking damage to her vessel. It was a bold move that demonstrated either great courage or great foolishness. Both alien commanders found themselves in a situation they had never encountered before. The ancient battle protocols had no provisions for dealing with interference from unknown species. They could not continue their ritual combat with the human ship in the way, and they could not simply destroy it without violating their own codes of honor. For the first time in 3,000 years, the sacred dance was interrupted. Commander Lyra and Captain Zara found themselves forced to communicate directly with each other to decide what to do about the humans who had put their ship exactly where it did not belong. Commander Lyra stood in the neutral meeting chamber aboard the ancient space station called Haven's Rest. She had not seen Captain Zara face to face for over 50 years, and the experience was strange. The Zephyrian captain looked older now, with new scars marking her arms and face, but her amber eyes still held the same fierce intelligence that Lyra remembered. "This is an unprecedented situation," Lyra said carefully. "In 3,000 years, no species has ever interfered with our sacred conflict." Zara nodded slowly. "The humans seem to have no understanding of galactic protocols or proper behavior. They ignore our warnings and place themselves directly in our battle zone as if they have some right to be there." Both commanders had been forced to withdraw their fleets to safe distances while they figured out what to do about the human problem. The unknown vessel called New Horizons remained stubbornly positioned in the disputed system and continued broadcasting messages in languages neither alien species could fully understand. "What do your analysts make of their technology?" Lyra asked. "Primitive but effective," Zara replied. "Our weapons specialists tested their shields during the warning shots and discovered something disturbing. Their defensive systems adapt quickly to different attack patterns. They may be technologically young, but they appear to be very good at learning from experience. Lyra felt a chill at these words. Adaptive technology was dangerous because it made conventional tactics unreliable. The Velthari preferred enemies who fought in predictable ways using established methods. Meanwhile, aboard the New Horizons, Captain Lisa Martinez was learning about galactic politics from an unexpected source. The humans had managed to establish communication with both alien fleets and discovered that they had stumbled into something much more complex than a simple war. Ambassador Claire Morgan sat across from Lisa in the ship's conference room studying the cultural briefings they had received from both alien civilizations. Claire was a career diplomat who had volunteered for the mission, hoping to establish peaceful relations with whatever aliens they might encounter. "Captain, this situation is fascinating," Claire said. "Both species describe their conflict as a sacred duty that maintains galactic stability. They claim that their ritualized warfare prevents larger, more destructive conflicts from breaking out." Lisa frowned as she considered this information. That sounds like an excuse for never trying to make real peace. How can constant fighting be good for galactic stability? Dr. Amy Brooks looked up from her analysis of the alien cultural data. "Actually, Captain, there might be some logic to their system. Many Earth cultures have used ritualized conflict to channel aggression in controlled ways. The difference is that these aliens have been doing it for 3,000 years. Amy had been studying both alien species since the first communication exchanges began. The Velthari appeared to be highly advanced elves with technology based on crystal resonance and harmonic principles. The Zephyrians were warrior women who used biomechanical technology that seemed to grow rather than being manufactured. The interesting thing is that both cultures appear to have stagnated," Amy continued. "The Velthari are so focused on maintaining perfect harmony that they have stopped innovating. The Zephyrians are so devoted to ancient traditions that they refuse to consider new approaches to old problems." Kate Sullivan joined the discussion with her engineering report. "I have been analyzing the technical data both species shared with us. Their technology is incredibly advanced in some areas, but surprisingly limited in others. It is like they have been so busy fighting each other that they forgot to keep growing." Lisa stood and walked to the view screen where she could see the two alien fleets maintaining their careful distances. "What if we proposed something radical? What if we suggested they try actual peace negotiations instead of their ritualized warfare?" Claire nearly choked on her coffee. "Captain, that would be like telling them to abandon 3,000 years of tradition and sacred duty. They would probably consider it an insult to everything they believe in." "Maybe," Lisa said, "but someone needs to point out that their system is not working as well as they think it is. If they really want galactic stability, they should be working together instead of against each other." The conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Rebecca Stone, who announced incoming communications from both alien fleets. Lisa returned to her command chair and accepted the transmissions. Commander Lyra appeared on one side of the view screen, while Captain Zara appeared on the other. Both alien leaders looked uncomfortable with the arrangement, but they had agreed to speak with the humans together. "Captain Martinez," Lyra began in her musical voice, "we have discussed your situation and reached a decision. You must withdraw from our sacred battle zone immediately, or we will be forced to remove you by any means necessary." Zara nodded grimly. "The Velthari speaks truth, human. Your presence here violates ancient treaties and threatens the stability of this entire sector. We give you 1 hour to depart." Lisa looked at both alien commanders and made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. "I respectfully decline your demand. My ship will remain here until we can establish proper diplomatic relations between all three of our species." The silence that followed was deafening. Neither alien commander had expected such a direct refusal from what they considered a primitive species. "Captain Martinez," Lyra said slowly, "you do not understand the forces you are dealing with. Our conflict serves a greater purpose that goes beyond what your young civilization can comprehend." "Then explain it to me," Lisa replied. "Help me understand why two advanced civilizations choose to fight eternal wars instead of working together to solve real problems." Zara leaned forward with anger flashing in her amber eyes. "You speak of things you know nothing about, human. Our ancestors died to establish the treaties that govern our conflict. Their sacrifice maintains the peace that keeps dozens of other species safe from greater threats. What greater threats? Lisa asked. And why do you need constant warfare to keep them away? On Earth, we learned that cooperation is usually more effective than conflict for solving difficult problems. Amy Brooks stepped forward to join the conversation. Commander Lyra, Captain Zara. I have been studying your cultures, and I noticed something interesting. Your technologies complement each other perfectly. Velthari crystal science combined with Zephyrian bioengineering could probably solve problems that neither species can handle alone. Both alien commanders looked shocked at this suggestion. The idea of combining their technologies had never occurred to them because they had been enemies for so long. That is impossible, Lyra said. Our technologies are fundamentally incompatible. Crystal resonance cannot work with biomechanical systems. Kate Sullivan smiled. Actually, Commander, I think it could work very well. Your crystal technology appears to be based on harmonic frequencies, while Zephyrian bioengineering uses organic rhythm patterns. Those are just different types of oscillation, and oscillations can be synchronized. The conversation continued for hours as humans asked questions that neither alien species had ever considered before. By the end of the discussion, both Lyra and Zara found themselves looking at their ancient conflict from completely new perspectives. The first sign of trouble came from navigator Elena Brightstar, who noticed strange readings on the edge of her sensors. She had been monitoring space around the nebula when her instruments detected ships approaching from deep space. These were not like any vessels in her databases, and they moved in ways that made her feel cold inside. Commander Lyra, you need to see this, Elena called urgently. Lyra hurried to the navigation station and studied the sensor readings. What she saw made her blood freeze. The approaching ships were black as empty space and seemed to absorb light, rather than reflect it. They moved without any visible means of propulsion and left trails of darkness behind them like wounds in space itself. Send an immediate warning to all ships, Lyra ordered. The Void Seekers have found us. Across the nebula, Captain Zara received the same readings on her biomechanical sensors. Battle Sister Maya rushed to her side with a face pale with fear. Every Zephyrian child grew up hearing stories about the Void Seekers, but most adults believed. They were just legends used to frighten the young. Captain, the biosensors are screaming warnings, Maya reported. Whatever those ships are, they register as a threat to all organic life. Our own vessels are trying to flee automatically. Zara gripped her command chair as she watched the dark fleet approach. The Void Seekers were real, and they had come to feed on the conflict that had sustained them for 3,000 years. Her people's ancient enemy was no longer the Velthari, but something far worse. On the New Horizons, Captain Lisa Martinez stared at her tactical display in confusion. The unknown ships that were approaching showed up as dark spots that seemed to drain energy from everything around them. Dr. Amy Brooks was taking frantic readings while Kate Sullivan tried to understand their technology. Captain, these ships do not operate on any scientific principles I recognize, Kate reported. They appear to be powered by some kind of entropy field that feeds on organized energy patterns. The closer they get, the more our own systems start to malfunction. Amy looked up from her xenobiology station with worry written across her face. Captain, I am detecting massive life signs aboard those vessels, but they do not match any normal biological patterns. Whatever lives on those ships feeds on conflict and chaos. Lisa opened communication channels to both alien fleets. Commander Lyra, Captain Zara. What are we dealing with here? Lyra appeared on screen first, and her usual calm composure was cracked with fear. Captain Martinez, those are Void Seekers. They are an ancient nomadic species that travels between galaxies, feeding on the life energy of other civilizations. They have been waiting for our balance to break so they could attack. Zara joined the communication with anger and determination, replacing her earlier hostility toward the humans. The legends say they feed on conflict and grow stronger from warfare. Our ritual battles have been keeping them at bay by providing just enough chaos to satisfy their hunger without giving them enough power to attack directly. How do we fight them? Lisa asked. You do not, Lyra replied grimly. The Void Seekers are older and more powerful than either of our civilizations. When they arrive in a system, all life eventually dies. Lisa felt a stubborn anger rising in her chest. She had not come this far and learned this much just to watch 3 civilizations get destroyed by space monsters. There has to be a way to fight back. What are their weaknesses? They have no weaknesses, Zara said. They absorb energy from weapons fire and grow stronger from organized resistance. The only defense is to avoid attracting their attention in the first place. Well, we already failed at that, Lisa replied. So now we need to figure out how to survive. All three of our species working together. The idea of working together shocked both alien commanders, but they could see the Dark Fleet growing larger on their screens. Traditional tactics would not work against an enemy that fed on conventional warfare. They needed something completely new. Kate Sullivan studied the approaching Void Seeker ships and noticed something interesting. Captain, their energy absorption appears to have limits. They can drain organized patterns, but they seem to have trouble with chaotic or rapidly changing energy signatures. Amy added her own observations. The biological readings suggest they are adapted to feed on predictable conflict patterns. They might have difficulty processing completely random or adaptive strategies. Lisa began to form a desperate plan. Commander Lyra, Captain Zara, your peoples have been fighting the same way for 3,000 years. The Void Seekers know exactly what to expect from your tactics, but they have never encountered human unpredictability. What are you proposing? Lyra asked. A combined fleet using strategies that change faster than the Void Seekers can adapt, Lisa explained. Velthari crystal technology merged with human engineering. Zephyrian bioships enhanced with human tactical innovations. Mixed crews that can think outside traditional patterns. Zara looked skeptical. Our technologies are not compatible with each other or with your primitive systems. Kate grinned with the expression of an engineer who loved impossible challenges. Actually, Captain, I think they would work together perfectly. Velthari crystal resonance could amplify Zephyrian biorhythms, while human control systems coordinate the whole thing. We could create ships that adapt faster than anything the Void Seekers have ever encountered. The next few hours were a frantic race against time, as engineers from all three species worked to merge their technologies. Kate found herself working, alongside Elena and Maya, to create hybrid systems that should have been impossible. Velthari crystals were tuned to resonate with Zephyrian biomatter, while human computers coordinated the complex interactions. Lisa and Lyra and Zara planned battle strategies that combined the strengths of all three military traditions. Velthari precision and Zephyrian ferocity guided by human adaptability and creative chaos. They created tactics that changed minute by minute and could not be predicted even by their own commanders. Dr. Amy Brooks made a crucial discovery while studying the Void Seeker biology. Captain, I think I found their weakness. They are so adapted to feeding on conflict that they cannot process genuine cooperation. When species work together in harmony, it creates energy patterns they cannot absorb. As the Dark Fleet entered the nebula, the combined human-alien forces prepared for a battle unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships with crews from all three species took positions using formations that had never been tried before. Weapons that combined crystal technology, bioengineering, and human innovation powered up for the first time. Commander Lyra found herself working alongside Captain Zara for the first time in her life. The ancient enemies shared tactical data and coordinated their fleets as partners rather than opponents. Captain Lisa Martinez commanded a mixed squadron of ships that represented something completely new in galactic warfare. The Void Seekers approached expecting to feed on the chaos of a three-way battle between primitive species. Instead, they found something they had never encountered before. Three civilizations working together in perfect harmony to create strategies that changed faster than darkness could consume them. The real battle was about to begin, and for the first time in millions of years, the Void Seekers faced an enemy they did not understand. The battle began when the first Void Seeker ship tried to drain energy from Commander Lyra's flagship, the Silver Dawn. Instead of the expected crystal resonance patterns, the dark vessel encountered something it had never tasted before. Human. Chaos algorithms had randomized the harmonic frequencies, while Zephyrian biorhythms provided organic unpredictability. The Void Seeker ship recoiled as if it had tried to drink poison. Captain Lisa Martinez watched from the bridge of her hybrid command vessel as the combined fleet executed tactics that changed every few seconds. Kate Sullivan had worked miracles in the engineering bay, connecting three completely different technologies into something that should not have been possible but somehow worked perfectly. "All ships execute Pattern 7, Lisa called over the communication network. Pattern 7 dissolved instantly into Pattern 12, which transformed into something completely new that had no number at all. The Velthari crystal ships began resonating at frequencies that made Zephyrian biovessels grow new weapon configurations, while human targeting computers coordinated attacks that hit the Void Seekers from directions they could not predict. On the Silver Dawn Navigator, Elena Brightstar found herself working beside Battle Sister Maya to coordinate fleet movements that no single species could have accomplished alone. Elena's gift for reading star patterns combined with Maya's warrior instincts and human tactical flexibility to create navigation solutions that confused even their own crews. "Elena, guide us through the nebula using the chaos pattern Kate designed," Maya said as she monitored bioship responses. "My vessels are ready to adapt their configurations as we move." Elena nodded and began plotting a course that followed no logical pattern, but somehow felt right. The combined fleet flowed through the purple clouds like a school of fish evading predators. Every time the Void Seekers tried to anticipate their movements, the humans changed the rules again. Dr. Amy Brooks made another crucial discovery as she studied the battle data. "Captain, the Void Seekers are having trouble processing our cooperative energy patterns. When all three species work together in harmony, we generate something they cannot absorb or understand." The largest Void Seeker vessel moved toward the center of the battle, dragging tendrils of darkness behind it. This was their mothership, and it was ancient beyond measure. It had fed on the death of countless civilizations and grown fat on the energy of eternal conflicts. Captain Zara Vex commanded a squadron of bioships that had been enhanced with crystal resonance technology and human adaptive systems. Her vessels changed their configuration, constantly sprouting new weapons and defensive systems faster than the Void Seekers could target them. "All bioships prepare for synchronized evolution," Zara commanded. "Follow the harmony pattern the Velthari are broadcasting and let the human systems coordinate our growth cycles." The Zephyrian vessels began to change in ways that had never been seen before. Biomechanical systems merged with crystal technology, while human computers ensured that every adaptation served the greater tactical purpose. Ships that had been designed to fight each other now worked together like organs in a single living body. Kate Sullivan led a desperate boarding mission aboard the Void Seeker mothership, using a hybrid transport that combined the best features of all three technologies. Her team included Velthari crystal specialists, Zephyrian bio-warriors, and human engineers who brought tools that no alien had ever imagined. The interior of the Void Seeker ship was like a nightmare made real. Corridors twisted through dimensions. That hurt to look at, and the air itself seemed to drain life from anything that breathed it. But Kate's hybrid systems allowed her team to survive where others would have died instantly. "Amy was right," Kate reported over her communication link. "These creatures are completely adapted to feeding on conflict and chaos. They have no defense against genuine cooperation and creative problem-solving." Kate's team reached the ship's central chamber, where they found the source of the Void Seeker power. It was a massive organic computer that processed conflict energy and distributed it throughout their fleet. The system was ancient and incredibly sophisticated, but it had one fatal flaw. It could not understand harmony. Working together, Kate and her mixed species team began installing human chaos generators throughout the Void Seeker control system. These devices produced random patterns that confused the organic computer, while Velthari crystals amplified the effect, and Zephyrian biotechnology helped the chaos patterns evolve and spread. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Void Seeker mothership began to convulse as its central computer tried to process information that made no sense to its ancient programming. Ships throughout their fleet started malfunctioning as the chaos patterns spread through their network. Outside, in space, the combined human-alien fleet pressed their advantage. Commander Lyra and Captain Zara found themselves fighting side by side as partners instead of enemies. Their crews worked together with the smooth efficiency that only came from perfect trust and shared purpose. "Lyra, the humans were right," Zara said as she watched Void Seeker ships beginning to retreat. "Working together, we are stronger than either of our peoples could ever be alone." Lyra nodded as she coordinated a final assault that combined crystal harmony, biomechanical power, and human unpredictability. Perhaps it is time for our ancient conflict to end. We have found a better way to serve the galaxy. The battle reached its climax when the Void Seeker mothership attempted to escape by draining energy from its own fleet. But Kate's chaos generators had infected their entire network, and the more energy they tried to process, the more confused their systems became. The ancient vessel that had terrorized galaxies for millions of years finally collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. The remaining Void Seeker ships fled into deep space, carrying word of their defeat back to others of their kind. They had learned that the galaxy now contained something they could not feed upon. 3 species working together in perfect harmony had become immune to their hunger. In the aftermath of victory, the 3 fleets gathered in the space where they had once fought their ritual battles. But instead of preparing for conflict, they began planning for cooperation. The ancient treaties that had governed 3,000 years of warfare were formally dissolved and replaced with new agreements focused on mutual defense and shared exploration. Commander Lyra and Captain Zara met aboard the New Horizons to sign the new alliance documents. As they worked together to establish protocols for their combined fleets, they realized that their former enemy had become the partner they had always needed. Captain Lisa Martinez was offered command of the New Alliance Exploration Division with the New Horizons becoming the flagship of a mixed-species fleet. Their mission would be to prevent future conflicts by establishing peaceful contact with isolated civilizations before threats like the Void Seekers could exploit their divisions. 6. Months later, human-led diplomatic missions had established contact with dozens of previously unknown species. The galaxy was experiencing an unprecedented age of cooperation and discovery. Ancient barriers between civilizations were falling as species learned to work together instead of against each other. Dr. Amy Brooks published research papers that revolutionized xenobiology by showing how different forms of life could enhance each other through cooperation. Kate Sullivan became the chief engineer of a new technological institute where Velthari, Zephyrian, and human scientists worked together to solve problems that no single species could handle alone. The ritual battlefield where 3 civilizations had first met became a symbol of hope throughout the galaxy. A monument was built there to commemorate the day when humanity had put their ship exactly where it needed to be to change the course of galactic history. The inscription on the monument read simply, "Sometimes the greatest service you can provide is to get in the way of a bad idea that has gone on too long."